All right, Brandon, in this video, we're going to talk about where you can get better as a pitcher. And the concept that we're going to talk about here is momentum towards home plate. Momentum and weight shift towards home plate. And I'm going to illustrate that with several different pro pitchers. The idea as a pitcher is we want to get this momentum working towards home plate and down the hill as far and as fast as possible before we rotate. All right, because the more momentum we create with our body, the less stress we're going to have in our arm, the more velocity we're going to have on our pitches. So you're going to see here with Mariano Rivera, from his set position, you're going to notice that these eyes and this weight shifts forward from the set position. For example, you'll notice here, as he's picking up his knee, he's already tracking his eyes forward, and his weight is already shifting forward, as you'll notice right there. So when he gets to the separation of his hands, I want you to notice how much further his eyes have already tracked forward. And again, notice how much further his hip thrust is. He starts here, and he's tracking forward, tracking forward, tracking forward before he separates. And there's the separation, but look how much thrust he has in that lead hip. And what's happening is more weight is being pushed off the inside of the back leg to create that momentum. And if we look at another example, it doesn't really matter who we look at. They're all doing the same types of things working down the mound. If you look at Roger Clemens, you see him here in his set position. Now we can draw that dot where his eyes start, and we can draw that dot where his hip starts. And notice as he starts to make his move towards home plate, those eyes are already tracking forward. And he's thrusting forward with that hip. And right here is where those hands break. And notice how his eyes have already tracked forward and how the hip is tracked forward. In other words, there's momentum working down this hill. He's like a locomotive. Chugga-lugga, chugga-lugga, working towards the plate to reduce stress on this arm. And it all starts with your center of gravity in your head. This is where you create power. So if you want to create power from a position, you got to get it moving forward towards your target. If we look at Tom Glavine, he's another one that we've been looking at a lot. If we flip him over to make him a right-handed pitcher, we see him here in his set position. Draw that dot where his eyes are and his rear end, and watch him track forward on his first move here. Working forward when the hands separate, right there. Now when I took a look at you here, one of the things that I noticed is that before you even start to go forward, you actually go back. Watch here, you're in your set position, but as you lift your knee, watch where your eyes and your belly button go. They go backwards. So instead of creating momentum forwards on your first move, you're creating momentum backwards. And as a result, it's going to take you a lot more work to create that momentum, that locomotive piece towards home plate. And if we watch you track forward here, there's a good hip thrust. However, here's your handbrake. Notice right here's where your hands break, but your eyes didn't track forward at all. Again, let's go back to the beginning. Here's your set position. Put a little dot around your eyes. And we watch as the hands break right there. Look where your eyes are at. If we measure this part, watch as the hands break. That part's pretty good, but it's where those eyes go. So you still have momentum and power and weight that is back when you're working forward and separating your hands. Again, look at a guy like Roger Clemens. Watch those eyes and that weight shift into home plate before the hands separate. So that's what we have to work on. And there's a couple of specific talking points that I might want you to think about. Point number one is, are your feet too far spread apart at your set position? Because the reason I ask that is when your feet get so wide and you got to get that hip load, maybe that's why you're going backwards instead of forward. Number two, in your set position, how strong and firm and balanced are you? Are you engaging your core? Are your knees slightly bent? Okay. Number three, when you're picking up and tracking forward, are you focusing on keeping these eyes and this chin on this front shoulder, like you can see here with Roger Clemens? And if you're not, try throwing more with your eyes. Get your eyes out forward more, and that's going to help you deliver that momentum piece. Now, if you have any questions, let me know. But our next big piece is delivering momentum. We're going to add that to that dynamic balance. We're going to add that to that better sense of posture when we first get going. Okay, we get that going, and man, you're going to be money.